Welcome back, and thank you for joining this professional development video provided by the Office of Early Childhood at the Nebraska Department of Education. This presentation, the how, what, and why of intentional teaching, has 3 parts that will focus on strategies for adults to enhance children's learning during play. During part 1, we discuss the importance of the physical environment and how to effectively arrange the classroom, as well as some basic adult interaction strategies that should be used to support children's play. Part 2 discussed the materials that can be used to enhance learning throughout the early childhood classroom. And now, during Part 3, we will discuss the interaction strategies that should be used to promote higher level thinking with an emphasis on the strategies needed to score at the 5 and 7 levels on the Eckers 3 observation. The Eckers 3 book will guide you as we look at these strategies. Eckers 3 supports quality improvement in early childhood programs when teachers and administrators take a look at the big picture of quality. While small, simple changes can be made, such as adding specific materials, there are other changes that require a more intentional approach from teachers. The interactions that will be discussed in Part 3 may require more effort and planning on your part as you implement them into the classroom. However, these changes are ones that are at the heart of early childhood quality. You may focus on using the strategies in one specific area at first, but as you begin to use them more methodically, you will see the impact they can have in every area of your classroom. As teachers circulate through the classroom throughout the day, there are different levels of interaction that can be observed through the Eckers 3 observation. At level 1, adults interact in the same manner with all children. It may be a negative or a neutral interaction. Little or no interest is shown in what children are doing. At level 3, adults show some basic interest in what children are doing and playing. Most interaction is positive, and there are some closed-ended questions asked and short comments made. At levels 5 and 7, adults show extended interest in what children are doing. Questions that are asked are more often open-ended and require answers that focus on children explaining what they are doing and why. Extended conversations are used with children rather than brief comments. Part 3 will focus on using intentional strategies throughout the classroom to scaffold for each child. These strategies are seen at levels 5 and 7. When teachers read through the Eckers 3 book and look at all the items that require interaction with children, it can be somewhat overwhelming. However, when teachers use intentional strategies that can be applied to every area and child, they will begin to generalize those strategies so that deeper learning happens everywhere. The intentional strategies that we will discuss are join and play, back and forth conversations, connect to real life and current themes, focus on materials, and encourage engagement. As we go through these strategies, you may find yourself connecting them to the class strategies of concept development, quality of feedback, and language modeling. After we discuss the intentional strategies that can be used across all learning, we will focus on some specific strategies to use in math, science, and literacy. Children love to play, and while they are playing, they are learning. Social skills, language skills, math concepts, how things work. The list goes on and on. While adults sometimes minimize play and its importance, just a look at this picture can open a world of learning possibilities. And the possibilities expand when an adult interacts. In this picture, some children are dressed as doctors and have some medical instruments such as a stethoscope and a shot. One child has on an arm sling. What part do you suppose the adult is playing? I imagine she is the patient, as a multitude of doctors take care of her. Now, we might just see this as children playing, but if we look deeper, we can see the possibility for practice on using language skills as the patient and doctor talk about what is wrong. There is also the possibility for learning about numbers as the doctor counts out the number of shots given to the patient. Writing skills could be expanded if the doctor and patient work together to write a prescription. Other children are learning social skills such as turn-taking and self-regulation while they wait their turn. When joining in play, the adult should join the children at their level, as this teacher is doing by sitting with them. She should listen carefully to what is being said and then determine what role she should play. Joining in play means just that, being a play partner and taking on a role. Watching children and adding comments as they play is not the same thing. While teachers should observe and even take the opportunity for quick assessment during play, in order for this strategy to be effective, adults must join in. Playing is not a spectator sport. Joining in play can also happen when children are working on a block structure, playing with Play-Doh, sifting through sand, or looking through a magnifying glass. While not every situation requires that an adult assume a role, playing as a partner means that adults follow a child's lead and engage in materials in a similar way, as well as offering ways to expand the exploration of the materials. 3- and 4-year-olds are expanding their language skills at a rapid pace. Adults must support this skill acquisition by providing opportunities for talking through frequent conversations, open-ended questions, clarifying what children say, and using a variety of words. Meaningful conversations should be multiple back and forth exchanges that focus on what the child is saying and doing. An exchange includes a teacher talking and then the child responding, or vice versa. Open-ended questions allow a child to answer a question based on his or her own thought processes. So you might ask, how did you decide to build your tower? What would happen if you used only small scoops of sand? Why was that your favorite part of the book? Adults may provide extra support for some children as they work through these questions. Clarifying what a child says is another way to extend and expand their understanding. So, you use the bigger blocks on the bottom because you thought they would provide more support for the tower. An early childhood classroom should always be full of rich conversations among adults and children. Children make connections between what they know and what they are learning. When adults point out connections between a child's real life or to a current theme, children are able to better understand a concept. The children in this picture are playing with a baby doll. When adults make comments that connect to a child's own life, learning can be enhanced. The adult in this picture might say, "Aubrey has a new baby sister. What are some ways you help mom and dad take care of your baby sister?" These questions and comments can lead to other children talking about their experiences with babies. Teachers can also help children make connections between a current or recent classroom topic, as well as something that happened during play. For example, a teacher might say, "I remember that Parker built a plane out of Legos. Let's go ask him how he built that plane, and then you can work on your own Lego plane." Another example could be when the teacher says, "Remember how we use blue or yellow paint to make green? I wonder what would happen if we mix blue and red paint." Adults provide the link that allows children to build knowledge and make sense of the world around them through real-life connections. In part 2, we talked about the materials that can be placed in your classroom. When adults focus on materials, children will have a better understanding of how to use materials. This adult is working with some children on an alphabet puzzle. Some of the ways she can bring the focus to the materials include singing the ABC song as children figure out what letters come next, talking about names that start the same as a letter, pointing out the shapes of the letters. Look, the O is curved, while the T is a short and a long straight line. Teachers can also focus on materials by showing children how to use them, how to roll Play-Doh with a rolling pin, how to play a dice game, how to use the balance scale. And of course, as teachers focus on the materials, they are engaging children in conversations about the materials. The importance of play is addressed in the NDE video, The Value of Play. That video shares research that indicates the positive outcomes of play. Time for play must be provided in order for the positive outcomes of play to happen. Eckers 3 requires at least 1 hour of play during a 3-hour observation. The hour for play starts when all children are playing and stops when cleanup begins. During playtime, adults interact with children and make sure that all children are engaged in the classroom. In rooms where adults interact and play with children, most children will be engaged in activities. Even though adults may not engage directly with every child in the classroom, they can still encourage engagement by smiling at children, offering warm touches, giving a thumbs up, or making a short comment. However, adults should also be on the lookout for children who are not engaged, providing children with options on what to do. The sand table and the art area are both open, or by asking children to join them in an area, "I'm going to the block area. Would you like to join me?" will help children determine where to spend their time. It is the teacher's responsibility to ensure that all children are engaged. While it is perfectly fine for children to choose a calm activity, such as looking at a book or talking quietly to a stuffed animal, children should not be wandering aimlessly or running around the room. This is a real sign that the teacher needs to provide support for engagement. If most of the children are not engaged, the teacher will need to reassess the classroom setup and materials to determine what is needed for engagement. All of these intentional strategies can be used throughout the classroom during playtime. Play is sometimes viewed as the work of children. To the untrained eye, children building with blocks, exploring sand, rolling Play-Doh, or taking on the role of a doctor are simply seen as children having fun. To the trained eye, these are all opportunities for children to expand their knowledge of the world around them. It is also an opportunity for adults to support that exploration. Adults must be acute observers while in an early childhood classroom. As playtime starts, the adult should observe where children are, what they are doing, and determine where to start. It is important that adults observe and listen before jumping in as a play partner. Once the adult understands the situation, he may ask to play. He may simply start to use materials in a similar way, or a comment can be made about what children are doing. One way to help adults use these strategies throughout the classroom is to make a plan. Maybe the plan is to split up the areas for the adults in the room. One adult will take the art area, the house area, and the science and nature area. Another adult will take the block area, the book area, and the table toys area. Another plan might be to start to use one strategy at a time. For example, adults might simply focus on joining in play throughout playtime one week and then add focusing on materials the next week. It can also be helpful to post the strategies for adults to see. These can be posted around the room in various areas at adult eye level. Adult support will ensure that the strategies are being used. Eckers 3 looks for some specific adult support in the areas of math, science, and literacy. While the intentional strategies that we just discussed can be used in these areas, there are also higher level interactions evident at the 5 and 7 levels in Eckers 3. During the next few slides, we will focus on the interactions rather than the Eckers 3 level. Please refer to your Eckers 3 book for guidance on the level of each interaction. While a list of these interactions can seem overwhelming, all higher level interactions are based on best practices which support children's learning. As teachers focus on being intentional with children throughout the areas, it will become easier and almost second nature to use these strategies throughout the classroom. Math materials may be placed in an interest center or may be placed throughout the classroom. Here are some Eckers 3 expectations for adults to use to support the use of math materials in the classroom. Relate math concepts to children in a way that engages them. Talk about math in non-math areas such as the blocks or the art area. Who used more blocks in their tower? Are there more pieces of pizza or cookies? You painted a tall person and a shorter person. Ask open-ended questions that stimulate reasoning relating to math. What do you think will happen if I pour 2 scoops of sand in this container? How could we use the blocks to make a larger pen for our ponies? How can we decide if more people can play in this area? Adults should help children make connections between amounts and printed numbers. For example, show the numbers on a clock and have children show that many fingers. Point out the numbers on the play oven. Show children how to use math materials and interact with them as they use the materials. And of course, ask open-ended questions while using the materials. Relate math materials to the current topic. So, while learning about fall, sort leaves by size and measure pumpkins. Offer math activities that require additional teacher support, such as charting the weather or measuring flour to make Play-Doh. An Eckers 3 observation looks for specific adult interaction with science and nature materials and experiences during playtime. Along with using the intentional strategies discussed earlier in this video, there are several items that must be observed for a level 5 or 7 score. Adults should use and talk about science or nature materials with children, along with introducing activities that include how to measure, compare, or sort those materials. For example, a teacher might show a child how to sort rocks by size and color, or she might help children organize pumpkins in order from smallest to largest. Adults should show concern for the environment through language or actions. For example, an adult can point out the recycling bin for papers in the art area. Adults should encourage talk about living things in the classroom, such as a plant or an animal, as well as support children while they care for them. While the book area is not included in the Learning Activities section of Eckers 3, books and literacy are such a natural part of every early childhood classroom that it seems only logical to address them. For this section, we will discuss Eckers 3, Item 14, Staff Use of Books with Children, Item 15, Encouraging Children's Use of Books, and Item 16, Becoming Familiar with Print. During an Eckers 3 observation, Item 15 is generally scored during playtime, while Items 14 and 16 may be scored during playtime but can also be scored during other parts of the day, as adults interact with children through reading and writing. Informal reading is often seen during playtime as a child asks an adult to read a book. Whether reading formally or informally, adults should show interest and enjoyment while reading to children or even when children are looking at books. This can be expressed through a smile or short comment such as, "I love that book." And of course, adults should read books with great enthusiasm. Adults do not have to acknowledge every child who looks at a book, but the support should be evident. Higher level interactions during reading include talking about a book through multiple exchanges, providing books that relate to the current topic, and using books to answer questions children may have about a topic, such as what a butterfly eats or the difference between a whale and a dolphin. Play is a great way to support children as they experiment with print. Pointing out words and letters on material labels, names on cubbies, or words on a poster are all examples of how adults can support emergent literacy. During play, adults can help children better understand print as they write names on a list for the sand table, write dictation for a picture a child paints, or by writing a note home about how a child put together a favorite puzzle. Making use of environmental print during playtime is a wonderful way to help children connect printed and spoken words. This video has provided a variety of ways for adults to interact with children and enhance their learning throughout playtime. Reflect on the various areas in your classroom and how you interact with children during play. Think about the intentional strategies we introduced. Join in play, back and forth conversations, connect to real life and current topics, focus on materials, and encourage engagement. Which of these strategies do you feel you use most often in the classroom? Which of these strategies do you use the least? How can you incorporate these strategies more consistently and intentionally in your classroom? From the math, science, and literacy strategies, which do you feel most comfortable using in the classroom? Which do you feel the least comfortable using? And which area could be enhanced, and how will you do that? Think about all the adults in your classroom. Are all the adults using the strategies at the same level? What is your plan for implementing these strategies with all adults in the classroom? Here are a few resources that will help as you move forward in enhancing the quality of your early childhood classroom. Please be sure to check the Eckers website for clarification on scoring items. This concludes the professional development video, The How, What, and Why of Intentional Teaching. If you have further questions, please contact the Office of Early Childhood at the Nebraska Department of Education. Thank you for your time and attention, and I wish you well on your journey as you work to improve the quality of your early childhood program. And thank you so much for the work that you do to provide a quality early childhood experience for the children in your program.